So Google Forms is just a tool that's inside your drive. If you want the one that you're going to demo right now to be in a specific folder, I think you all know this to some extent, I can open up whatever folder I want. And if I create a new Google Form while I'm in that folder, it's automatically filed for me. So once again, on the upper left-hand section, click on New, and Google Forms is under the More. If you're creating it in a folder that already has permissions set for various ways, it's going to automatically share those permissions unless you change things. The first thing that I want you to tinker with is this menu over here, that there are many different options. Short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, and whatever. And what I'd like you to do is just kind of jump between two areas. So try something, and then the I is going to show you what the question looks like for the person. So I'll go back. So if you're looking at it and say, I've never done something like a linear scale before. Maybe the question is, rate this presentation, where 1 is terrible and 5 is completely engaging. And I want to see what does that look like from the student standpoint. I can just click at this, and this is how the question is actually going to look. I know sometimes there's not a lot of detail in Google. They just kind of say, here are your options, pick something. What's the most common options are obviously you want some response for whatever it might be. Short answer just means they have a small box. Paragraph means they have bigger, but honestly there's no character limit for either. Multiple choice, I guess I'll ask you, do you know what the difference between multiple choice and checkboxes is? Right, checkboxes. Drop-down can be multiple as well. Drop-down would just drop-down menus. Scale makes sense. A multiple choice grid is one of those more complex ideas where you have certain things in the rows and the columns, and they can pick like here, here, here. So you've probably seen something that looks like this. Like maybe your row is, let's just talk about the library and the gym. And column 1 has to do with, you know, it's friendly, it's practical, whatever it might be. And once again, if this is not the way that you would have it look, it's fine. But just to show you what that looks like, you can click whatever you want. Obviously, these can be numerical, it could be values, it can be you're okay with this. You can force the question so that once you pick something from a column, it can't be picked again. I know that the purpose of this section is not all Google Forms, but you should be familiar with a couple different things here. And most of it you can find by just hovering. So duplicate makes sense. Trashing should make sense. When I said you can only have one answer per row, you can decide whether or not you want something like that. You can put a description. You can have it be shuffled. I think all of that makes a lot of different sense. Some things that I have my students play with if they have to create this is to know that you can add pictures, video, or you can section off your Google form in whatever way that you want. What I'd like you to, if you have this in front of you right now, is I'd like you to kind of play around with a few other areas. So click while I click. On the upper right-hand section, make a copy means make a copy of this form so I can have it somewhere else. I think the rest of this is pretty straightforward. One of the features that's been added within the last year is adding collaborators so that more than one person can help work on this form together. But I want to show you add-ons. Add-ons are just different things you can do with Google that run behind the scenes. The only one that I've ever used is called Choice Eliminator. Choice Eliminator is the basic idea is you have 20 choices of things to pick from. I don't want somebody to pick the same thing again. So if I had 6 projects that you need to sign up for, and I ran this script, Choice Eliminator, once some person picks it, somebody else doesn't have it as an option. So in order to run that, I have this add-on. I just take and say, I want Choice Eliminator, and I don't have a question that works well with it. I want Choice Eliminator to get rid of choices after they're picked. So what's going to happen is it's going to either be multiple choice or checkboxes. The biggest downfall of Choice Eliminator is it's a script that takes a little bit of time to process. So if everybody is signing up for the same project at the same time, they can beat the system. So where I've seen this used well is we have a student that teaches gymnastics at Turner Hall. She wants parents to sign up for different sections. It works really nice because not all the parents are on the same device at the same time. You can also set it so that once 3 people sign up, once 8 people sign up, then the choice is eliminated. It doesn't just have to be one. I'll show you that a little bit better. So if I ran this on a quiz that actually works, I just clicked on configure, it's going to ask you some obvious questions like, which of these questions are you going to use it on? So if I say I want to use choice eliminator on that first question, I have to say it, yes, start eliminating choices. And then within that cogwheel, it's going to ask me how many choices are you going to allow before you kick that answer out. Now that's a little bit different than I'm creating a quiz that I'm sending to somebody. The biggest negative, once again, is people say it doesn't work the way that I want. And then the response is if multiple people are doing it at the same time, it has issues. So if that's something that you want to tinker with, go with it. If it's something that you have no interest in, I'm okay with you know that it exists. I think the reason that you're here is a kind of debate. Should I be using something like this to gather information and do something with a group that I'm trying to gather information from? So I'd actually like you to take my quiz, but without even having to share it, here's the website, tinyurl.com/MLCGF for Google G Form 2016. So just type that as the website. It should take you to my quiz. And then I want to show you what happens with that information in a couple different ways, and that's kind of how our presentation today is going to end. So on my side of things, I can see responses as they come in, and then I'm going to show you how I set up what I just set up. What do you say?
You're not going to rickroll me, are you?
I don't know what that means, sorry.
Really?
Rickroll you? That means embarrass you?
What I'm going to do next.
Oh, my.
Never heard of rickrolling?
No.
You see a tiny URL or a condensed one? If you ever find one of those on your phone or something, rickrolling is it automatically links to a Rick Ashton video.
I don't know who that is, sorry. Okay. So my question for you is, when you took the quiz, did it give you feedback instantly?
It gave you points.
Gave you points, right? Okay, so now I want to show you a couple different things. And this is where I think it goes into, you have to decide if this is applicable to you or not. When you create a quiz, you now have the ability, I'll just show you what I just did up here, up in the settings, to make your Google form into a quiz. And what that means is I can give you your grade immediately after each response. You can see what you've missed. You can see correct answers. You can see point values. And that should have happened as you took it, depending on whether or not you looked really carefully at it. It's a different story. Now, here's how something like that works. When I create a question, and I have the quiz feature set up on this, I have the ability to set the answer key. And the answer key would be something like, this is the reason why you didn't get all the feedback, because I had some stuff set up because I'm demoing in different ways. If I say this is the correct answer, when you answered it, you're going to get immediate feedback about is that right or is that not. If I took something like this, and I once again want the answer key to show, I could say, oops, the following are the correct answer. I think you get the idea from that. It doesn't mean that you don't still get responses. And I can see the responses and just kind of individually go through, okay, this is how many people answered this correctly. This is how many people answered this correctly. You get the idea. But I want to show you two more things with this. So let's just say you're using this in a classroom setting. By you giving those responses, I can instantly gather them in a variety of ways. I can go individually through how you've done. That's a little bit time consuming if you had 60 different people with it. I also have the ability to gather your responses in a Google Sheet. And this might be slightly better. The reason why I say that is I can see scores. I could take this directly from whatever it is I'm looking for. But there are some limitations to what I just created. I purposely created something that you had to get wrong. So for example, when the question asks you, who's the founder of Microsoft, the auto quiz thing does not work well with short answer. So the built-in thing for Google Forms, it does very well with points. Did you click the exact spot you're supposed to click or the multiple spots, and you got the points that you're looking for? None of you got the point for this because it is impossible to set up the answer key for short answer with what's built into Google Forms. However, the workaround is if you send it to Google Sheet, the add-on that you can use is called Flubaroo. So I took this. It's a Google Sheet add-on. If once you add it on, it's there forever. Because this isn't my computer, it's going to force me into something else that I don't. I have the ability to take all those answers and now just grade them. And the reason why this may or may not be something that you want to use is I, at this level, could say these are the points I want to use, whatever it might be. The second thing is I can take, and in the way that Flubaroo works, I say, okay, Dan Fensky is my answer key, or I would take the quiz myself. Right now, this isn't that impressive. What is impressive, if you wanted a quick workaround with this, is I can take this and I can grade the assignment in a way that I can make it so that I can answer the questions, or I can give feedback on questions that were short answer. So for example, who's the founder of Microsoft? I don't want normal grading. It's not a point thing. I want to grade that question by hand. All the rest of these are things that are pretty straightforward. And by using this workaround, everything else is the same, but I now have the ability to grade whatever question I need to grade by hand. And I'll show you that to you in just a second. So by running this, I have the option to grade the question by hand that I need to grade by hand. Now, it's going to automatically say, okay, here's Linda's question. She answered Gates. I can put feedback in there. I can give her the point that I need, set the grade, etc. Now, here's the big question. Underneath, or now that we're talking about just MLC specific, you can certainly create a quiz in Moodle and do all of the different things that we're showing here as features one way or the other. If you are just gathering data in Google Forms and you just want quick feedback that you probably aren't sending to a gradebook, in my opinion, this quiz created is faster than for me to create it in Moodle. If I want to take that grade and export it into some place where I can see how they did on it, then I'm going to probably take the time in Moodle to create a question bank to set values because I want it to go directly into my my gradebook that's there. I've used this for math quizzes and other things like that because I wanted to see how well I liked to use different tools. Whether I do it automatically or use this add-on called Flubaroo, the end result is that it ends up someplace where if I want that grade in Moodle, I've got to type it in there from a spreadsheet or from scrolling and just taking the raw numbers and moving from there. Go ahead.
If you want to dig around CSVs and stuff, you might be able to dump it to a CSV and then push it into Moodle from a CSV. By the time you get done taking around,
It's not worth your time.
you might be better off just typing.
Right. He's just saying take the raw data, the general form of a sheet, Excel file is a comma-separated value, a CSV file, dump it into Moodle, and you could do stuff with it. But once again, it really comes back to what's your goal. So for me with Google Forms, this is a little bit more hands-on. Like, I want to see your answers. I want to see who gave those answers, and I want feedback on this. I would rather use this as an exit ticket than Kahoot as an exit ticket because ultimately I want to gather your name and know where I have to come back to tomorrow or next week or with the next professional development or whatever the context of the things that you're looking for with. So if I was going through, for me, Poll Everywhere is a variety of formative things that I can gather information in a lot of different ways. Kahoot is gamification of some topic, whether it's review or in the past. And for me, Google Forms does serve the purpose that you've seen before. Like, I just want to know information about what you think about the library or my class. Or if I wanted to quiz you on something, I can go as hands-on with it as I want. I'm going to stop my video.